All right, Nate Helming, Helming Athletics. We're back again another week. This week we're going to be talking about one of our other basic movements, which is our deadlift. And right after I teach squats, right after I teach push-ups, I like to go to this deadlift. It's one of those lifts, it's not only something we do in the gym, but generally in life, it's one of these unavoidable movements. So not only is it important from a triathlete perspective, which I'll talk about in a second, but just from a life perspective, I'm traveling through the airport, I'm having to move my buddy's couch. I have to bend over and every once in a while pick up heavy things, and it's good to know how to do it correctly. So with our deadlift, we just need a very basic setup, just a barbell on the ground, maybe some plates, but we're just going to start with this very basic setup just with our hands. And this is how I like to do it with all my triathletes in the beginning. One of the things I like to say about the deadlifting, especially for triathletes out there and runners, very, very strong in the front and the anterior, the quads, the hip flexors are really, really strong. We're not so good in the posterior chain. So the deadlift is really one of those exercises that really gets in the posterior chain really well. But I'm not going to say any specific muscle because it's one of those exercises that's kind of those trick questions. It's a neck down exercise, just like the squat, just like all our barbell movements. It really works everything. The deadlift, a lot of posterior chain, however. So the first thing I'm going to have you do is just assume this deadlift shape, and how can we hinge over with a nice straight back. So I'm going to put my hands on my thighs. You notice the first thing that I'm going to do, push my hips back so my hands are just resting on my knees. My back's nice and straight, my head's looking straight down. And you'll notice that if I take my hands away, I'm going to really feel some activation and tension back here. And that tension is a really good thing. It's what we're using to hit this lift. We need tension back here to get that lift going. So I'm up here. The first thing I'm going to do with my hands, push my hips back aggressively so I feel some tension here. One of the common errors we see out the gun, people bend their knees too early, and if I bend my knees first, I don't get any tension back here. So really important, push those hips back. Once I'm here, I'm just going to finish the lift. I'm going to drop my butt just another few inches. That's it. So the bottom part, very, very small movement. I'm still keeping my hips high, so I have this tension here. I've said that tension word a few times, so you know that that is an important one. We really, really need to load that system up. So first thing, just like we talked in our squat, my back stays nice and straight. It's not rounding, it's not doing anything like that. I'm pushing my hips back like crazy to create some tension. So once we have this motion with our hands, we've gone from here to here. We're going to do the same thing with the barbell. So I'm going to take my barbell, I'm going to pick it up off the ground. I'm not going to worry too much about that yet, and I'm just going to start. My hands were right along my thighs, so now that the barbell is going to stay on my thighs, I'm going to push my hips back, just focus on this top half to here. Once I have that, I'm then going to go the whole thing from here down to mid-shin, all the way up tall again. I want to get really, really comfortable with that motion, and then I can start to load this system up. Now, as triathletes, we're a little averse to lifting heavy weights. But with my squats, with my deadlifts, with these things, if I can get exposed to some heavier weight, it's actually going to make me safer because it's going to dial in my position, give me a little bit more feedback on how my body's responding to this thing, and we can actually start lifting better, which in the long run is going to help lift us, make us safer. So once we have this set up, we're going to put some plates on the bar, or put some plates on the bar, just what I said, and we're going to look at this lift from the ground. So from here, I'm just going to get these guys loaded up. These are standard plates you see in a lot of gyms. It looks really big, but it's only 10 pounds. It's called a bumper plate. Put the other one on the other side here. Now we have our bar set up on the ground. So once I've taught the deadlift, you'll notice that I've actually taught the deadlift backwards, from the top down. All the heavy stuff that we need to move is on the ground. So the next question is, how do we get down there in a good position with our back? We're loaded up in the posterior, what we can do is deadlift ourselves down in position. Now, one of the other things I like to do is take my arms out of the equation, because if I tend to lead with my arms, you'll notice in life that when we lead with our arms, we tend to reach through the back, and if I've reached through the spine that way, I've already lost a little bit. So from here, I'm going to get up nice and close to this bar. I'm going to put one hand on my belly, one hand on my back. I'm going to push my hips back like I just did. I'm going to drop my butt down, and I want to drop nice and low so that by the time my arms just hang, they're already on the bar. You see that? That way I haven't had to reach for anything. From here, I grab this bar. I'm going to squeeze my shoulders together, load my hips by pushing them up. Once I'm here, stand. Same thing on the way back down. Push my hips back aggressively, just past my knees. Drop down, lift, here, hips back, hips down, all done. So there you have it, our deadlift right there for you. One of our key functional movements we do in the gym. Key functional movement for just moving around in life, helping move heavy things around. For triathletes, runners, cyclists, it's a great thing because it really teaches us how to stabilize the spine and how to really load the posterior chain. So there you have it. Next video, catch us next week. Cheers.